Here we go. New upload.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Boss, and this is a breakdown of the final trailer for Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts. Queen and David Bowie's Under Pressure perfectly scores this amazing final look that includes some really cool new shots, including the Void, both as a setting and as the terrifying Dark Sentry form, as he's casting these fleeing New Yorkers into shadows and saying some new, very creepy things to us. In this video, I'm going to break down all the new stuff we see before we lock in our pre-release Thunderbolts content before we're able to see the film in the coming weeks. And be sure to check out nerdriot.shop. Our newest shirt is a Thunderbolts theme called Asterisk, and it's really the best way to support us here on New Rockstars. All right, let's start with the first part of the trailer because something big actually comes up here.
Elena, being a hero, there is no higher calling. Your sister understood something about that.
I should have come back for you.
No. That's just a fairy tale.
Okay, we've seen some of these shots before, but now we hear Red Guardian Alexei Shostakov tell Yelena Belova this: being the hero, there's no higher calling. And if we were to hear the voice of David Bowie singing anything over a superhero movie trailer, don't you think it would be Heroes? But no, it's Under Pressure, Bowie's collaboration with Queen, a collaboration that reflects the team members of this film. Under Pressure is credited to be written by all 5 musicians, David Bowie and the 4 members of Queen, Roger Taylor, Freddie Mercury, John Deacon, and Brian May. Similarly, a lot of these heroes are accustomed to being solo acts who now learn how to harmonize and work in sync with each other. Even the opening scat vocalizations that we hear throughout Under Pressure are evidence of the improvisations of these musicians jamming together before laying anything down. And they just realize that that improvisation is great as it is. So even though there are seemingly 6 members of the Thunderbolts, the marketing has made it pretty clear that Taskmaster is going to die early on, leaving us with 5. And that 5 would parallel Bowie, Taylor, Mercury, Deacon, and May. This part of the trailer shows us some desaturated shots from the end of the 2021 Black Widow film that introduced us to Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh, and how Natasha tearfully told her sister figure that she should have come back for her, followed by a shot of Yelena tearfully kissing Natasha's grave in that movie's post-credit scene, followed by her first on-screen moment with Val. Yelena's relationship with Natasha Romanoff seems to play a bigger role in this movie than we thought, and I think we might see a young Natasha appearing in Yelena's void visions and that snowy forest as at least manifestations of the girls from their Red Room days. Yelena dismisses Alexei's thoughts about heroes as a fairy tale, which is more interesting wording because Russian children's folk tales also come up as a major detail in this trailer a little later on. And we see the creepy shot of Dark Sentry's void form with his tiny, barely noticeable eye holes, which reminded me of how Dark Sentry the Void looks in the comics. But adapted on screen in live action, I love the choice to make his eye holes just tiny pinpricks, like the Void doesn't want to emit any light whatsoever. I'm reminded of the 1990 film Ghost with the rotoscoped shadow demons who would show up to drag souls to hell. And if you looked at those for a few frames, they actually had discernible faces with little eye holes of light. Director of the Annabelle sequels and Shazam movies, David F. Sandberg loves to use this technique in his horror work, notably in his feature version of Lights Out. You often see this in creepypasta art because it plays on 2 innate visual fears. 1, just a general shadowy shape that we're trying to make out from any kind of dark place, which is really just our anxiety over the unknown. And 2, our paranoia over being watched by something that we cannot make out, like seeing a predator's eyes from the darkness and only the creature's eyes reflecting back to us from our flashlight or our campfire light or car high beams. Next, we see an overhead shot of people fleeing as 2 people are cast into long shadows before we see that shot that we saw in the Super Bowl trailer of people fleeing toward the camera. The bridge that they are running under, I believe, is the bridge that leads into Grand Central Station in New York, not far from where Avengers Tower is located in the city, and the bridge upon which Steve and Natasha and others fought part of the Battle of New York. In the Hawkeye series, Clint Barton observed a memorial plaque on the lower wall of this bridge. Okay, on to the next clip.
I was in high school when the Avengers came.
Of this bridge. Okay, on to the next clip.
I was in high school.
She looks so different.
When the Avengers came. Kinda strange that it's all over now. No one's coming to save the day.
I think we are. We can be the ones that are coming.
All right, we see Avengers Tower being constructed into Sentry's Watchtower now that Val has overtaken the property as part of her OXE organization. You can see the Chrysler building on the left and the Empire State Building on the right. And based on where this is in Midtown, you can see that this is not the building under construction that we saw in the Daredevil Born Again finale shot. That was the real life 270 Park Avenue, aka JP Morgan Chase building, which in the real world was under construction for the past few years. We hear the voice of Geraldine Viswanathan as Mel, Val's assistant, who calls Congressman Barnes over the phone, saying, "I was in high school when the Avengers came. Endgame. It's kind of strange that it's all over now. No one's coming to save the day. And Bucky responds, I think we are. We could be the ones that are coming. The desaturated footage we see here is Steve and Bucky in Captain America Civil War when they were approaching the Siberian Hydra facility. Like the trailer flashback shot of Yelena with Natasha, this flashback of Bucky with Steve, I think is a clue of what Bucky will see in the void. Some old memory with Steve Rogers. In fact, maybe we'll see skinny Steve again in this movie. And we see Mel looking up at the Avengers A that formed the A of the previously Stark Tower, the last letter standing on the facade after the Battle of New York that inspired the Avengers A to appear on the tower in Age of Ultron. And now this A is on display as an exhibit art piece in Val's fancy gala that has lots of Avengers relics on display from that battle. The vertical banners we see here read honoring NYC heroes with Iron Man on one side and Captain America Steve Rogers on the other. Iron Man has the Mark 7 armor with a circular chest reactor light, which was the new armor that Tony suited up in that 2012 movie. Many online have said Mel might actually be wearing what looks like a Songbird necklace. Songbird is Melissa Gold, formerly known as Screaming Mimi, originally a supervillain with supersonic sound abilities who joined the Thunderbolts of Baron Zemo in the comics, and then later in Dark Reign is part of Norman Osborn's Thunderbolts lineup. And we thought Songbird was going to be in the Falcon the Winter Soldier. All right, on to the next clip.
Look, you have the wrong people. We have all done bad things.
Look, I've been where you are. The past doesn't go away. So you can either live with it forever, or you can do something about it.
Over some trailer shots we've seen before, Yelena tells Bucky that they've all done bad things, and Bucky responds, look, I've been where you are, the past doesn't go away, so you either live with it forever or you can do something about it. And we've seen this shot of John Walker doom scrolling before, referring to what he did to the Flag Smasher in the Falcon the Winter Soldier, but the reverse shot is a new angle of him suited up in the US Patriot suit. And then we see the big stunt that I think will be the opening scene of the movie, Yelena sitting atop Merdeka 118 in Kuala Lumpur, the second tallest building in the world, for her big jump. The CinemaCon feature had made a big deal of showing that Florence Pugh did this jump, but to be clear, the actress did the very scary part with wires initially falling down at the edge of the building, but the actual base jump where the chute opened was done by a stunt actor, and I wish Marvel would introduce us to that performer too. And I love how the editing matches Yelena's fall of despair with Bucky's words of you either live with it forever, and then the words or you can do something about it, paired with Bucky running out to save that couple from the rolling truck, and I love that stunt. We are all a little preoccupied with spring cleaning on what they plans when he joined. Yo.
Look what you unleashed. You can't outrun the emptiness.
I still don't
Okay, a
understand
bit
if
more
they're dead
of
or
the
not.
void here with another look at his creepy tiny eyes. While he's mostly in shadow, when he turns his head, you can barely make out some midtones on his nose and his cheek, as well as some parts of his suit that we know is blue and gold. So it's not like he was completely blacked out by the effect. It looks like they took all the highlights, midtones, and shadows of his plate and just brought them down to just like 1 or 2%. We get a new shot of Val looking pretty scared as the soldiers fire upon Bob, and then an explosive shockwave rips through this area that might, unless I'm mistaken, completely disintegrate all the soldiers. Kind of like what Jean Grey Phoenix does to everyone on Alcatraz in X-Men The Last Stand. We also hear Dark Sentry, the Void, say, look what you unleashed. And I just love the double vocal layer on Louis Pullman's audio. Jessica broke down the visuals of this shot in our other most recent Thunderbolts video, how in an instant, 11 people working in an office are flattened into shadows, while additionally, the computer screens are turned off and the globe lights hanging from above are smothered in darkness from the top down. But now we get the horrifying detail of hearing some of them scream. We also hear Dark Sentry, or the Void, say,
You can't outrun the emptiness.
which feels like a counterpoint to the encouragement Congressman Barnes gave in the previous clip. And actually, maybe I should stop calling them Congressman Barnes because Sebastian Stan confirmed that Bucky will not last even a full year as a congressman. But either way, it tells us that the setting of the Void in this movie is a kind of psychological realm representing uniquely to each occupant as their own personal guilt or personal shame, personal despair. Like all those negative feelings that we all feel in the world have a kind of cosmic source, and this is it, the Void. Moving on.
We can't do this. No one here is a hero.
We all have things that we regret.
But I have so many.
In some new shots of Yelena's Void visions, we see what I assume is a younger version of herself hiding behind a tree in a snowy forest as another girl with darker hair seeks her, carrying this book. Now, when I first saw this, I thought, is this other girl young Natasha? And they're both wearing gray sweats, so is this their time in the Red Room when they were in training? Kind of similar to Natasha's Red Room memories invoked by the Scarlet Witch in Age of Ultron? Or could the dark-haired girl be Antonia Dreykov, aka Taskmaster, and Yelena's kind of mourning her? Or could this be someone else in Yelena's
That's
past?
Taskmaster.
A girl
was
that
like,
she
who the
got
hell is
killed by
Taskmaster?
this
Yeah.
mystery man. I thought maybe the girl could be representing Natasha's biological mother, because in the Black Widow film, Dreykov said that Natasha's real mother came looking for her and he had that woman killed. I don't know, this girl seems kind of young here. If this man who shoots the dark-haired girl would be Dreykov, I don't really know, because in the Black Widow prologue, we saw Yelena when she was younger than this, and Dreykov looked like the adult form he is in the movie, just a little de-aged. This dude, I think, is just a completely different person. Maybe it's Natasha Romanoff's biological father, Ivan, whom we only know is named Ivan because Red Skull called her Natasha, daughter of Ivan. But whoever this girl is, she drops this book, and its cover and binding read this word, which is Snigorushka, which refers to the snow maiden of Russian folklore, the granddaughter and helper of Ded Moroz, the Russian Santa Claus, or Father Frost. The snow maiden began as a Novi god character from Russian fairy tales, one about a peasant couple with no children. Then one day, a snow sculpture miraculously came to life to become their adopted daughter. And Snigorushka brought joy to these parents, but didn't live long because she was challenged by the village children to jump over a bonfire and she melted. So earlier when Yelena dismissed fairy tales, maybe it's because she feels like the Snigorushka who melted before she could bring real joy to anyone. Also, in a way, if Yelena is Snigorushka, would that make Alexei the Russian Santa Claus? He does have a big beard and a robe in this movie and drives a red limousine that we could see as his sleigh.
Who is this old Santa?
The Red Guardian.
All right, on to the next clip.
Lena, when I look at you, I don't see your mistakes. That's why we need each other.
As we hear Queen and Bowie singing, "This is our last dance," it makes me feel like someone other than Taskmaster is gonna die in this movie, and I'm really worried about you, Santa Alexei. This section also gives us some of the best action we've seen of Ghost, Ava Starr. She phases through the backseat of the limo onto the trunk, and she's more in control of her phase shifting now, according to Hannah John Kamen in her Fandango interview, because she says Janet Van Dyne used quantum healing particles to heal her in Ant-Man the Wasp. And according to the actress, that makes the character more powerful than she's ever been. And when Dark Sentry or the Void causes a helicopter to crash, we also see Ghost rapidly zipping into the street to push a soldier out of the way and then phase shifting through the fiery wreckage. It's so cool. On to the next clip.
We can't stop him alone. No one can. But we can find a way. Together.
I don't know if I'm ready for the emotions this movie's gonna make me feel. The craziest shot from this
Yeah.
section is Bucky tied up on the floor of this building as something vibrates
just
through the
all
walls and windows,
anticipation.
swallowing
That's
the
what it
building.
all
It kind of
is.
looks like the lab where we've seen Yelena and other trailer shots where she's fighting and taunting a scientist, where she recovers a vial of something, which I think is the same location where we see Bob Reynolds sitting on a table as two frozen shadows flank him. And I think it's the same building where Yelena walks away with a guinea pig as it explodes. So is Bucky in the same building? Are we now seeing the impact of the explosion? So my question is, will Thunderbolts even address the current state of New York City after Daredevil Born Again Season 1, with a despotic Mayor Fisk placing New York City under martial law with a curfew? And how will this movie connect to Avengers Doomsday? Maybe we'll see a post-credit scene in this movie with Val in Tony Stark's bar at the top of the Watchtower as a sling ring portal opens that shows Wong calling to her from the new Avengers compound that could be inside of Tiamat's adamantium skull on Celestial Island. I want to leave you with my favorite moment of Florence Pugh in the cast interview with Fandango this week.
In fact, we did a take where Wyatt turned around and went, "Buggy!"
Comment down below with what you're most looking forward to about Thunderbolts Asterisk and some final predictions of what the hell the asterisk means. And get 20% off Delete Me consumer plans when you go to joindeleteme.com/rockstars and use promo code rockstars at checkout. That's
I really like his
joindeleteme.com/rockstars and use
breakdowns. I mean, him and his team are they're so smart.